The big concern within the share today is the top-line revenue growth. What happened?
Well, first, let me start with DAU growth, because that's how we realize our purpose, which is to serve the public conversation. And it's how we walk into the office every day, thinking about how we can get the rest of the world to use Twitter. We grew DAU 17% this quarter. That's the third quarter in a row of accelerating mDAU growth. We've broken out of this range that we've been in for a couple years now, and it feels like the product improvements that we're making are really driving more people to Twitter, and it's helping people find what they're looking for faster so they come back more frequently. Then the second issue is around revenue, which you asked about, and there are a couple of things that happened there. I'd start by saying advertiser sentiment continues to be strong. But we did see more seasonality than we expected in July and August, and we also had a couple product-related issues where some settings didn't work as expected, which we realized during the quarter. That impacted us by about 3 or more points in Q3, and we expect it to have 4 or more points of impact in Q4.
So fixing those settings is good from the consumer, the user's perspective. How is that going to impact your financials, perhaps even more into 2020?
Well, we're working hard to remediate these things, and remediation first means communicating clearly so people understand when something didn't go the way we expected it to the people who were affected, to our other stakeholders. There were tweets about this stuff during the course of the quarter. Second is to make the setting work the way that we had expected it to. And then we work with partners and we think internally about the best way to make sure that we are giving people as good an experience as possible on Twitter, which means the tweets that they see, the ads that they see, that we're respecting the settings, but finding a way to give them a good experience. So an example would be we've got measurement partners who help advertisers understand the success of their campaign. We're working hard to get them better data that respects the user settings, but helps them understand if their campaigns are working as well as they thought.
A lot of people said that this was a little bit of one of the first signs that you had broken some trust with customers and that this was an opportunity for regulators to talk to you about data privacy. Have you been in touch with regulators about data privacy and controls over that?
Well, we're always in touch with regulators all over the world because it's an important part of us understanding their priorities, and it's really important for them to understand the principles that we use to make decisions about what questions we ask people, how we display our policies on the service, and how they play out in the product that we deliver. When we do that, we find we can come to better conclusions, and we can lay our policies out better for people, and they can understand our business better as well.
Now that you've fixed the privacy controls, what do you tell advertisers about why they should come back to the platform and how they can measure the metrics of how they're impacting the consumer?
Well, advertisers never really left the platform. We had $700 million of ad revenue in the third quarter, and although we grew revenue 9% year over year, we actually had double-digit revenue growth in the month of September, showing that what we saw in July and August really was seasonal. But we explained to them what happened. We talked to them about what we're doing to remediate, and we helped them understand the use cases that we think Twitter is best for advertisers, which is if you want to launch a new product or service, Twitter is the place to do it. If you are Warner Brothers and you're launching the Joker and you show the trailer all over the internet, it ends up being seen more on Twitter in the first hour than anywhere else, and sometimes by twice as much. If you want to connect with what's happening, whether it's the Women's World Cup, the beginning of the college football season, or any other big event where people are learning about it and talking about it on Twitter, this is the place for advertisers to be. Those messages have really resonated with advertisers. They continue to resonate in the third quarter as well.
You started out the conversation talking about the monetizable daily active users, and that was a bright spot from the street. A Baird analyst came out and he said that that's a positive sign of ongoing product improvement. Some of those product improvements are like topics and interests. When do we expect that to move out of the testing phase and be more fully rolled out?
Well, some of it has moved out already, and other things will move out over time. And we can spend years improving how people see more about topics and events that they care about most on Twitter. One, as they go through onboarding, it's making sure that we surface the right accounts and topics to get them into a timeline quickly publicly that's really relevant to them and where they are and what brought them to Twitter. 2 is in the home timeline itself, surfacing the topics and events that they care about over time. 3, in the notifications that we provide them. There's more work for us to do. I just got a notification a couple days ago in my production version of the app that many other people use as well, asking if I wanted to follow the Warriors. Not the account, the Warriors, but the topic, the Warriors. And over time, more and more people ought to have the opportunity to cover topics on Twitter as well.
As we approach the 2020 election, are you updating your privacy policies?
Well, we're always challenging ourselves and our thinking around our policies and how best to enforce our principles on Twitter and to be clear with people how they work. In the United States, we think a lot about 2020, but it's always an election year on Twitter. The election for Prime Minister in Canada that just happened recently, 600 million people voting a few months ago in India. There's always something happening on Twitter, which gives us the opportunity to do a better job helping people trust the information that they see on Twitter, helping them feel safe being a part of the conversation, and really finding what they're looking for while they're there.